You could just give us a few seconds, please. There's nobody there?
And there's no man behind the curtain?
Then we're probably
Lights are
not.
off? You know what, they have the,
Oh.
no, somebody's there.
That's so funny. A thumb up? Okay. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the school committee meeting of October 3rd, 2023. Before you have an agenda. May I have an approval? May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Well, welcome, everybody. At this point, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Not seeing any public comment. I'll move on through the agenda, please. Superintendent's report.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to start with enrollment. So as you notice from our enrollment report, we are at 1,689 students. This is down 8 students from 1,697 in September. And the reason why we are seeing we're seeing this discrepancy of number of students is that we have arrived at 15-day withdrawal notices. So students who have not come back to the district because they have moved out of the district have been notified, and so we've removed them from our rosters. So this is a more accurate view of the number of students that we have. So 1,689 is where we are, and that's it for enrollment. So just a little bit of information about the Mass REDI. Thursday this last week, 2 curriculum directors, the EL director, and I attended the first session of the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Professional Learning Series. This is called Foundations 2 because I attended Foundations 1 that was specifically for superintendents only last year, and that was very engaging. But I wanted to make sure that I could bring a few more people to do the training with me again this year. So we are doing Foundation 2. It is a continuation of Foundation 1 with small district teams. The focus this year is really laying the groundwork for district level leaders to work on cycles of improvement that focus on something that they call the ABCDs. A is academics, meaning all students have a strong academic preparation. B is belongingness. All students have a strong appreciation and respect for their own culture and those of their classmates and a sense of belonging. C is for commitment to dismantle racism and oppression. We need to build the skills, vision, and courage to dismantle institutional racism and oppression. And D is diversity. Everyone is appreciated, valued, and respected. Different perspectives are also appreciated, valued, and respected for all members of the student and school community at large. So our next sessions will be a little bit different. We won't be meeting in person with all of the other superintendents and directors. We will be going through different trainings. The superintendents and particularly myself, as well as others that worked together last year, will be doing some work with adaptive leadership in problems of practice around racial equity. The newer directors will be doing an in-depth study of white identity, which is what I did last year. So overall, it's a really great training. It's very powerful. It's a great opportunity to be together with district leaders and to have that uninterrupted time to dig into some of our own district's areas for improvement around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we really look forward to continuing the learning experience, and maybe even we can bring more people in the next year. Additional updates, well, all of our schools are going through open houses. In fact, the Nantucket Intermediate Schools is happening as we speak. We had the high school had theirs last week. Yesterday was Nantucket Elementary School. Tonight, as I said, is Nantucket Intermediate School, and tomorrow is Cyrus Pierce. So it's always a joy to see the students' pride as they bring their parents and their relatives to their classrooms. It is a big deal, and it's a big night. So it's always special to see that joy on students' faces as they show and are, show people their classrooms, different things up in the classrooms. Teachers really open their arms to students and their families that night. So it's really important to see that and be present and have that opportunity. I saw some of our some folks here yesterday as well, so that's great. I was actually a little nervous that parents might not attend due to the road construction that we're dealing with, but it was really packed yesterday and today as well, which is why I made it just in time for the bell, because there is a lot of folks parking in our lots here to be able to get to the intermediate school. So definitely looking forward to CPSs tomorrow night, and we'll see how things go. That will be the last one in the series. And the only other additional update I have, really two others, but I wanted to report that the pep band did not have the opportunity to debut on Saturday due to the rain, but we will look forward to that on October 21st. And finally, I want to announce that we are saying goodbye to another administrator in December of this year. Jennifer Erickson has announced that she will be retiring on December 15th to become a grandmother. And just wonderful to have worked with you, Jen. It was really great. And I will certainly go into a lot more about you and your experience here in Nantucket Public Schools, but we're excited for you. So, you're welcome.
You'll be
And
missed.
that's all. And that's all I got.
Any comments, questions?
No questions,
Tears.
but it was yes. I mean, I feel like I'm in denial about that. But it was a great turnout last night. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
It was a good turnout at the football game in the rain.
I'm so glad.
Impressive.
Great turnout.
That's
Andy
terrific.
was there.
That's terrific. All right, moving on to presentations and discussions. We are going to invite Jen Psaradelis. Is she here this evening with Tracy Mailloux? Tracy's here. Tracy Mailloux, high school assistant principals, to go through the high school draft of their handbook.
Jen was not able to be here tonight.
Okay, Tracy. Well, welcome.
If you look at one of the major undertakings we did after gathering with the other assistant principals in August was looking at the formats and what other schools were including or not including. And one of the things Jen and I found easy and also matched a lot of high school teacher feedback and parent and family feedback that we got or that they received in the past years is just organization of the handbook. So the major change was a formatting issue, and we broke it down into categories and title chapters so that when somebody is looking for something specific, they can look under a chapter title. On page 2, you're going to see that it's still a draft and a work in progress. There will be an updated principal letter, and admin contact info will go there. The table of contents, you can see the updated formatting that we did.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 1, we're going to add the only addition would be adding some school council, NHS school council information. Chapter 2, we just have to make a couple minor tweaks to the television notifications because that we realized in final review that seems a little bit outdated. And we added, since chapter 2 is dedicated to parent involvement, we added the Friends of Nantucket Public Schools information. Chapter 4, academics, we made some slight changes and just have to do some final proofreading and edits of tech and computer use expectation. Chapter 7 and 8 deal with student safety and behavior and responsibility. And at the high school, we've been looking at alternatives to suspension and when kids have prohibited substances, and we're looking at being more educative in that area. So we just have to do after a little bit more research. One of the examples is last year the high school piloted the SAVE program, which is an education program about vaping and smoking. So we're looking at how to insert that information as an alternative to consequences when caught with an illicit substance in school. Chapter 9, food services. We made some changes and updates about eating in classrooms. More specifically, like a lunch versus a snack. Like a snack is okay, we're not denying anyone food and water, but kids should not be having full-on lunches in their classrooms. We have cafeteria for that. Our cafeteria, we have a breakfast program and a lunch program, and there's opportunities during the day. The final chapters are around transportation and the addendums, and those remain unchanged as far as things that were previously in there, and at the end of the review and the updates, page numbers will be realigned. And that's what we have.
Great. Tim?
The school committee listings, you've got me as chairman, and that,
We will be
It's a good
tweaking
thought.
school committee in there as well, so that's actually highlighted to make a change.
Now-
Because I also knew we need to double check term.
and under immunizations, if a kid is homeless, you really don't check for their immunizations. You can't keep them out of school for that.
So
Interesting.
I mean, we ought to at least.
We'll make that change.
Put
Yeah,
that
we can
in.
make
Yeah.
that change.
Yeah, no, we would never, and should never,
I guess
Keep
I don't
children
know,
out of
what
school.
page are you looking at there, so I
No,
or
it's
what
just-
section?
I think it may be a
looked
general.
under immunizations.
Oh, immunizations, exemption, okay. I will reread that and, because that has not changed, that's been part of the high school
Yeah.
handbook for as long as,
Who's the homeless coordinator?
Deb
That would be
Gately.
Deb, yeah.
Yep.
And,
So we'll make that change if that excludes.
any other comments? No? Chantal? No. All right.
I thought it was very comprehensive. I was just curious, so students cannot eat in the library any longer? I saw that was crossed out.
Not yet.
Yeah. And then my only other question was, how do you track, like, students signing off on the
So
handbook?
what we did the first week of school, first day of school was Tuesday, so it was either Wednesday or Thursday, it was the second day. We had, with the old format and the pages, since they had not been realigned yet, we had, like, first block class went over these 4 or 5 issues, second block class, and so on and so on. So by the
Nice.
time the kids got to their 7th block of the day, every single piece of the handbook had been gone over, and in advisory on Thursday, the kids signed off that they had in fact
Oh, that's great.
read the handbook, and I think Bruna could probably speak to how that was
Yeah,
gone
we
over in
did.
class as well.
We read, all teachers read a part of the handbook, and by the end of the day, we finished it.
That's great.
And they had opportunities for questions or clarifications. A lot of it, especially I think for our 9th graders, they're pretty similar to the policies in the middle school, so there's usually not too much ambiguousness there.
Thank you.
Question, the SAVE program, is that what we've been discussing as,
So if I may, it's a little bit different. SAVE program is what has been been started with Nantucket Public Schools and the Family Resource Center. It's very similar to what
Okay.
we had talked about, which is it's an opportunity for students to be attending the Family Resource Center to get support on substance use, substance abuse, things like that.
during
So,
school time?
Yes, this is happening during
Okay,
school
so
time.
similar to,
Yes,
Okay,
it is
good.
similar to the PASS program, which is what I have mentioned.
Right.
That is through Behavioral Health Innovators, and that is
Yes.
on Cape Cod.
Right.
We are still in process of connecting with the PASS program, and I believe that Sherry Lewis will be attending a visit on October 16th or so to their program to make sure, to see how it runs,
how
et
it
cetera.
could work for us.
But SAVE
maybe.
is similar, just not exactly the same, so we're looking at both programs and trying to build both of them, so.
And I think what Jen and I have talked about is when we firm up those sections, the substance abuse policy and the tobacco paragraph, making it, not, it has to be those, but examples could be, so that whatever the decision is, it's all going to be covered.
Yeah, so this is new then for this academic year, which I think will be comforting for parents who have been concerned around the vape issue, that what we are doing to address and support our students. That's great. Bruna, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tracy.
Okay. Beth, you're going to do the
Yes.
employee handbook?
I can, is it okay if I stay right where I am?
Yes, because everyone can
Fine.
see you. Yes.
So I want to just give a little bit of information on the brand new Nantucket Public Schools Employee Handbook, which has, I believe, was in existence perhaps 9-10 years ago, and then was not. So this came out of an expectation that came through our civil rights tiered focus monitoring audit that happened over the course of the year of 2021-22 and 22-23. And we were required to have an employee code of conduct or an employee handbook. So we set together with a team of about 7 people from different areas, union representation, ESPs, teachers, et cetera, all involved in kind of putting this together. And this is the final product. It is still in draft form because it is currently with our legal counsel, who is reviewing for any issues around legislation, because there are pieces in it that do relate directly to legislation. And it is still draft, and we did notice one little error today, so we're glad that we were able to catch that and make that change. So the idea behind this is that it is a comprehensive look at what we expect of our employees in the district. It is there is some overlap with our contracts, and there's definitely some parts of our contracts that are seen in here, but this is supposed to be used as a tool for our employees, so that if they have questions or need to find information about how to, if they have questions about retirement or questions about taking leave, parental leave or other, then they could look in the handbook to find that information. It will be given electronically. We'll have some paper copies, but everything is linked electronically in the table of contents to the exact areas that they can go to. So it's pretty easy searching, and it's pretty specific. We've gone into some very some detail. One additional or newer area was about employees who have students in the district. We wanted to make sure that there were some clear expectations around what could and could not happen for parents of students in the district. So that is a newer part to this handbook. A lot of the rest of it is kind of straightforward boilerplate, what you would normally see in a handbook. We collaborated with the town of Nantucket's HR department as well, so they have definitely been an important part in making this complete. And I believe it's ready to go. So our intention is to roll this out at the next faculty meeting for staff and for departments that are not in schools, that are district departments, to work with their staff on rolling it out. We will have it translated, and we'll have a request for people to sign off on having received it and reviewed it. So that's basically
Is this something that you will require us to vote on?
Yes, it will be voted on in the next.
Because in all honesty, I didn't get a chance
That's
to
okay.
read it all through.
In the next meeting, we'll
Okay.
have that, so you'll have time to
Perfect.
review it. It is a long document, and I understand.
It is.
So
Yeah, thank you.
that's fine. But I'm happy to outline any sections you'd like me to. It's, like I said, it's pretty straightforward, and what you would see in any employee handbook with some specifics around Nantucket, which is unique. So
Were there many additions did you go from the original document that you had 10 years ago, or did you
no,
start
this is
from
entirely new.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm just curious as to how many new things would be added.
We did
but-
use some, certainly there's a lot around technology that wouldn't have been in the previous one. We did use a combination of different exemplars that were available to us, and that helped us kind of design it that way. So,
Great.
yeah.
This is a lot of work. Yeah, so
It
thank
is,
you
and I
to
thank the
group.
team, yeah.
Yeah.
Beth, I have a question.
Sure.
School committee is listed under employees, so maybe I've been missing my paycheck. I mean, shouldn't the school committee as an elected body be in a separate group
Well-
of policies? I mean,
It does talk about elected or elected biannually, but
Forgive me, it's just part, while you're not employees, nor are you listed, I don't know if I agree with you being listed as employees. You are listed as the school committee, but not as employees.
Well, the employee manual.
Yes, but the fact is, it provides understanding to our employees of how governance happens. So that's the reason why it's out there. There are overlaps also with our policies. You will see our policies sprinkled throughout, so that it's another place that our staff can find some of those policies, because some of them are important and need to be reviewed.
Yeah.
So
But we are under governance.
you are, yes.
So no raise for you, Dr. Lepre, sorry.
Sorry.
Any questions, comments on the
No,
handbook?
there's definitely a lot of, I noticed a lot of similar language to the contract,
Yes.
so, which makes sense.
Just a second place, so
Mhm.
there's always you can look in either place, but,
Mhm.
and I was glad to have representatives again from NTA to assist in kind of following up and making sure that we had the appropriate pieces in each place.
Mhm.
Yep.
Bruno, any comments or questions? Okay, great, thank you. Well, moving on to committee discussions. Oh, no, I'm sorry, how could I possibly miss this? Hello. It is my pleasure to invite Alicia Graziadei, Director of Nantucket Community School, up to present on summer programming.
So, it's not just me tonight, but I'm gonna start. I actually have Colleen Cronin and James Voyages with me as well to present.
Nice.
So typically, we do a once-a-year overview of our programming, and we're hoping to change that because we do a lot of programming, and fitting that all into 15 minutes is nearly impossible, as I'm sure Pauline knows and most of the school committee already. So I asked Beth to give us a little flexibility tonight, I'm sorry, is it not going over?
Nope, it's frozen again.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna keep talking while Jen's fixing.
Yeah.
So instead of doing all of our programs and having all of our coordinators present and give you information, we're just gonna focus on 2 departments tonight instead. And I chose the pool and I chose early childhood specifically because last year James, when we presented, was a telephone on a chair.
That's right.
And since he started, we've had a lot of changes at the pool. It was our first year outside of COVID where we had all of our programming, so that's important. And Pauline has a lot of new programs that she started this year, which I want you all to hear about tonight as well. But before we get into that, I'm just going to tell you about some of our goals and initiatives that we have as a school this year. 3 major ones for tonight. The first was to improve communication, and that's internally and externally. So part of internal would be obviously presenting tonight. We find that actually a lot of the public school team and also members of our community don't always have clarity of what we do. We do a lot. So hopefully this will help with that. Externally, we're also trying to work with our community through a new website, which we've been working on diligently. It'll be launching probably early January this year. Through social media, we've been putting a lot into that this year, getting our community to know what we're doing on a regular basis, what programs they can sign up for, as well as showing all of our great collaborations, because there's a lot. We do a lot with the community here. Our second bullet, strengthening collaborations, I just touched on that, but we really do partner with over 20 nonprofits on the island. We work hard to make sure that we're supporting these nonprofits and that they're supporting us. We're really not trying to take anything away from what's already here, but just add to it in a thoughtful way. And then expanding programming to meet demand. That's been a huge challenge. We've been working, especially at the pool and driver's ed this year, to ensure that we are meeting that demand, and we're just at that sweet spot right now, especially with Learn to Swim. James will explain that in a little bit. And with driver's ed. A lot of that had to do with COVID. So we weren't offering these programs and we had a really big backlog. Now that we're offering them all year round and we're doing it on a continuous basis, we're starting to see that there's not this ambush to get into our classes. That said, some of our programs do still fill within 2 minutes. And that's, it's a great problem, but at the same time, we really wish we could have spots for everyone.
Right.
So we're going to continue to work on that this year. This is just an overview of our programs, our coordinators. So I just wanted to give you this, just as a way to see how many people we have with their own teams in the community school. So we really have 7 major branches here. We have the pool with James. We have early childhood with Pauline. We also have adult education with Brian Lenine. We have driver's ed with Denise. We have dance works with Kelly Corbett. And we have a new branch, which is health and wellness with Jasmine. She used to run our gymnastics program. She still does, but she also now runs the tennis courts. We gave her CPR because it fit under there better than adult education. And she's actually has some new offerings too that she's adding in over this year, so be on the lookout for that. She'll probably come at a different point in time. And who did I forget? I can't really see up here. Can I see down here better? Sorry. It's very tiny up there. Did I get them all, James and Pauline? No, I think I got them all. If I missed anyone, they'll forgive me.
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian, thank you, Shanta. Adrian runs our Children's Enrichment, which is extended day and a robust camp program. And NIS, I think, enjoyed having us this summer. Barry tells me that he enjoyed having me this summer. So I think we're going to be able to go back and have camp again.
Be good.
But I'd like to introduce Pauline Cronin. She's going to come up tonight and tell you a lot about her program here. Pauline is an asset to our programming, and she has a lot of experience, so I want her to be able to just share all the great things they're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Pauline.
Hello. I think I've got the nicest part of the community school, excuse me, because we start from even before birth. So we have all the fun stuff and all the little ones, the cute ones. This slide shows all the collaborations we have. We collaborate with almost every program we do. So I won't read them off for you, but you can just see we touch so many different parts of the community, and it's really intentional. Not only do we manage a really small budget to make the programs happen, the collaboration gets us to the people who know their programs best, and they help our programs be the best that they can be. So some of them, starting with the childbirth education. Childbirth education was at the hospital. It wasn't at the hospital. It's such a need. I want to meet families before their child is born. I have a real keen interest in looking after parents' mental health. If we can meet them before the child's born, we can tell them the warning signs, but we can guide them and give them a bit of a snapshot into what life's going to look like after they've had their children. It is a certified childbirth educator that runs the class. We provide the space and the registration for that program. Then moving on, we have the play groups. Currently, we've got 9 play groups. They're all full, and they're all running a wait list. So that was the thing. We hit fire to open groups, and we just sit back and watch it. I don't want them with big wait lists. I don't want anybody sitting saying they can't get into a play group, but we're strapped with staff as well. So we have a mighty team of 3 right now. So Susan and Kerry are working really hard to meet the need of those play groups. A lot of what we do as well is resource and referrals. So we're not just singing songs and doing projects and reading books, even though that's a really important part of it. We want to answer people's questions. I need some help providing food for my family. We're going to send them over to WIC. The Family Resource Centre is a huge asset to this community, and I want to do everything to get people over there. We're actually running a play group out of there. It started yesterday. So Susan went in and we rearranged the whole space and we made it happen. So I'm really pleased to collaborate with them because they have resources we don't have, but that can help our families. If I can speak to Circle of Moms, that's the only group I facilitate right now. We're going gangbusters. We've got about 10 moms coming regularly each week. So I have to make sure everybody has their chance to speak. It's a non-therapeutic support group, and we provide childcare as well. So all those programs that I'm talking about happen at 56 Centre Street in that beautiful building. It's a small space, but we make it happen. And then we have the Early Childhood Centre, so thank you to Nantucket Public Schools for that space. The reason why we do the playgroups in town is so that we can keep the Early Childhood Centre open for drop-in play as many hours as possible, so we're not chopping and changing. Most of the time when we're in the office, the play space is open. I forgot that I'm moving the slides forward. Am I? I think I got my glasses on. So there's just a bit more about the playgroups. We are guided a lot by we get funding from the Department of Early Education and Care. So it's called the Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant. The state can be challenging to deal with sometimes, as everybody knows. They put me through the ringer with all the things that they want me to report, but their guidelines are really strong, and that foundation is teaching the parent and child as a unit. And not charging for playgroups. We don't charge for any of them, which is really important. We don't want someone not coming because they can't afford to come. The golf club funds us, the Nantucket Cultural District, thank you so much, and the town of Nantucket and the school for the space for grants. The picture tells 1,000 words, right? It's just so cute to see kids and parents working together. Future nurse practitioners in pictures as well. Summer Boost is always a highlight of our year. So we spend the school year with our playgroups and all the programs that I mentioned. Our staff shifts in the summer to Summer Boost. We do charge for this program, but we keep the fee really low. It's $160 for 5 weeks, 4 days a week for 3 hours of the program. It really just offsets the cost. I'm always writing grants to fund it as well. This year, I was so proud of the program. We were actually short-staffed going into it, and it meant I had to step in, and I absolutely loved it because I saw it on the level with the families, with the children. We had 2 classrooms, 28 students. A few didn't engage, so that's an idea of how many were going into school without a preschool experience, apart from our Ready, Set, School program. 2 lead teachers, 2 teaching assistants in each class, 2 high school assistants that we kind of stole from camp, but we grew them and we nurtured them and we gave them a different experience from just camp. We also had a student from the IDSC classroom in the high school, and that was just incredible to have them there. So it was just every moment in the classroom was a joy. Even if they're not great at walking in line, we just love to, we get them there. They grow in 5 weeks. Spanish, Portuguese, and English were the languages. We had a Portuguese translator. We had Spanish-speaking translators. And the lead teacher spoke English. So just an incredible program. And those children end up being the ambassadors for kindergarten going in. They've been in the classroom. They know the rules. They start to know their way around the cluster. So we love it. And I really love being in the program this year. And then last but not least, I believe, is Parent Child Plus. I mentioned this program last year. I had just finished writing the grant for it. It's a sizable grant. We have to have the Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant to be able to access Parent Child Plus. If you think about this as the program, when we're nurturing families right from the beginning, we have our play groups, we have our support groups. This one is for families that aren't engaged in the mixed delivery system. So they're not going to preschool. They might be very isolated. They're not connected to play groups, but we have the intention of getting them into play groups. And what it is a home visitor going into the house twice a week for half an hour. It's a really short time, but it's a great curriculum. And it's a parent support model. So the home visitor is going in and coaching the parent to read, to play with their child. Each week, they take a toy or a book for the family to keep. If you ever want to come by our office, I will open the cabinets because it's like Christmas in there. It's a dream. And we can't wait to get those toys out to families. We have 2.5 Spanish-speaking home visitors, 1 English-speaking one. We currently have 8 families enrolled, another 5 waiting to start. And we can take 16 families. So I look forward to getting to that number 16. Again, another state program with lots of reporting, but it is a nationwide. In fact, I think it's an international program at this stage. So that's the new one, but that's the really exciting one. I'm going to put it. Oh, we're not doing questions until afterwards. Or are we going to hold the question? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is James. I'm the aquatics director over the community pool, and just speak to, as the father of a 1-year-old, those early childhood programs have been absolutely essential to my wife and I kind of getting our feet wet on the island. We're just under here a year now, or just under a year. It'll be a year in November, so really looking forward to it. So taking over the pool, it was, I'm not going to say a smooth road to start, but from last year to this year, we've made tremendous growth in our programming, in our offerings, and in our kind of participation as well. We've grown all of our programs massively just from day one to today. And the real exciting part has been kind of our learn to swim, because the cool thing about pools is they're great from birth to death, and you literally have programming from 6 months all the way through seniors. And kind of watching that, getting to know the community from every side of it has been absolutely fantastic for me, especially being a new person to the community, but also kind of feeling that you're serving all parts of your community. So these are just our main 7 departments or sports that we kind of facilitate at the pool. We've got our youth learn to swim, our adult learn to swim team, diving, aqua size, just member lap swim, and then a master's program that's just kind of getting underway this year. Again, and I'll outline this as we go here, but we have programming from 6 months old all the way through, I believe there are some 95-year-olds in our aqua size program. So the first one is our real youth kind of program. So we got our aquatuts, minnows, pollywogs, stingrays, and orcas, and that is quite literally a flow chart. It's posted on the bulletin board outside the pool if you ever want to come see it. But aquatuts is your kind of parent-child class. It's 3 days in a row, 10 people, you come in, you hang out with your baby. The main idea of the class is just to have parents interacting with their child in the water. But it has grown into me teaching these parents how to teach their kids how to swim, because just based on the numbers on this island, I'm not going to be able to teach every single human myself how to swim, but if I can teach the parents the basics of how to introduce their child to the water at 6 months, introduce these elementary swimming skills, and just get them water safe by 5 years old, it really goes to show what you can do. Because I've got a 1-year-old now that can float independently, and she's not the only one. There are a bunch of other ones that have become water safe before even the age of 2. Some of them before they can even walk. And that's really the key, because my job gets so much easier when the kids kind of come in with that base. So getting that started, I've already seen kind of the trickle effect into our lower youth groups already starting to happen. And that kind of brings us into minnows. Minnows is by far our highest in-demand class. It's an infant safety class. It is the class you guys have all seen on your social media of a parent throwing their kid into the pool and watching them survive. It is not necessarily the most fun thing for the little kids, but it is an absolute necessity if you want to be able to have your 3-year-old kind of be worry-free around water. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, we live on an island, so being around water is a pretty consistent aspect of our life. And just the idea that not everybody at least has an elementary understanding of how to keep themselves safe, it can be scary. So, it's one of the programs I am more passionate about, especially with all of our programs that have kind of taken off. But it's definitely our most in demand, and definitely trying to keep it going. Because of the way that class works, and some kids are in school, some kids are not, we have also partnered with a couple of the preschools on the island to bring those kids directly from their preschool to the pool to get the lesson. This way, parents who are working, parents who don't have access to those early times, can still have their kids in some form of swimming. We're looking to get more of the preschools involved, but we're just kind of limited by daytime staffing for those kind of educational. And it takes a lot of training to get through those classes. So it's actually more training to teach that class than it is to teach some of our more complicated classes, because you're dealing with the life or death aspect. None of these kids are putting their feet on the ground. You know what I mean? So it's pretty important to have the right training, right understanding on how to teach those classes. Once you get into the polywog to orcas, now you're kind of in school-age kids. You're starting to kind of broach the kindergarten all the way up through, pretty much 5th grade. We have the range for those classes goes 4 to 11, starting with polywogs to orcas. Now, if you're a polywog and you're 12 years old and you've never swam before, you can go into that class. All of the classes are 4-to-1 ratios. We keep them really, really small so that our instructors can cater towards a student that might be a little bit more ahead, might be a little bit more behind at that level, or somebody who's just picking up really quickly. Because if you start at 7 years old, you're going to pick up concepts faster than a 4-year-old. So polywogs is we have the most offerings of polywogs to kind of get people into the door. That one starts at 4 years old. Stingray starts at 5. Orca starts at 6. And once you graduate orcas, you move on to our competitive swim team. So this is that kind of bridge from, like I said, 6 months old, and it takes you all the way through essentially 10 years. And like I said, through kindergarten, through high school, or through elementary school, ideally. So that's our Learn to Swim. We like to keep it fun. We have some full-time not full-time, but adult instructors, and then we've got also some high school instructors that do it as part of their volunteer hours. So we've kind of broached getting that communication as well of our older swimmers being able to impart some wisdom onto our younger kids, as well as just having some of those kind of consistent faces that, I mean, everybody knows who Doreen Allen is at this point. So you've come to the pool and you've seen Doreen. We also got another instructor named Kate Olson over from the new school, and she's been absolutely fantastic. So our Youth Learn to Swim is really exciting, and we're seeing the other side of that on the swim team, which I'll get to here in a second. On the polar opposite spectrum of that, our Aquasize is also another program that has been blowing up, especially during the summer months. I think there was a couple classes that Carol taught that had over 30 women and men in it, but it's our senior, mobility course. It's fantastic for our older, members of our community. Not everybody can kind of go to a gym and hop on a treadmill. Not everybody can still hop on an elliptical, but when you get into the water, because of the impact reduction that the water provides, you've got seniors, some of which that are in a wheelchair, that can get in and still get a good cardio class. And to be honest, we took our entire staff for a professional development day, and some people got their butts kicked in that class. So again, we actually have expanded that now. We've got two kind of offerings. We have an early morning, 7 to 7:45, and an 11 o'clock for some of those seniors that don't necessarily want to wake up early anymore, and they come in. So it's been a fantastic program. The growth has been amazing. We do expect it to go down a little bit just as some of our snowbirds head back to Florida, but definitely planning to pick it back up in the spring months and kind of keep it running. Again, if you guys ever do have I'd love to throw a picture up here, but a lot of the guys don't necessarily want a photo of them, exhausted in the pool at 7 a.m. put up on the internet. But there have been a really good, really fun group of people to kind of get to know personally, and then we are also working with our Salt Marsh Senior Center to kind of keep that steady stream of seniors coming into the pool. But yeah, it's been really great, and it's not just really senior, old people. There are some younger. There's a couple of construction workers that all have bad knees that are in there. It's a really funny little group, and they have fun with it. They definitely mock each other into working harder. It's a really fun little group, and everybody's there to have a good time. Nantucket Aquatics. This is my baby. Coming from Connecticut, coaching for 10 years, this was the first thing that I kind of got my hands on. Our team was kind of decimated by COVID. As you guys can imagine, after a 2-year hiatus from the pool, you can kind of lose a lot of interest in a sport like swimming that has such a demand on consistent practicing, you're maintaining your muscle memory, being able to maintain your cardio base. It was a chore kind of getting it back up and running. And the first thing you can see if you just look at our roster now is we have a huge influx of young swimmers. And young swimmers from all over the island, all different dialects. We've got, it's been really fun to see, and I think that's purely from our first full year of Learn to Swim that is starting to really branch out into the community. Now we're starting to get people that I don't think even realized that we had a swim team are coming into the pool. Kind of parented with our family swim that we've been running on the weekends, we've had so many new faces in the pool that we've ever had before, and it's really lent to a really good growth in our youth, especially with our youngest groups. In fact, our 2 youngest groups outnumber our older 3 groups 2-1. And again, that's just kind of that feeder system from the Learn to Swim, which is kind of what we want to have happen. You just show up at 6 months, next thing you know, it's 18 years old and you've graduated. And that's the whole idea. So our swim team right now is at 52 kids, probably 3 or 4 more that I know will come back after soccer season is over. And it's been really great. We hosted our first swim meet this past weekend. We had a swim team from Cape Cod come over. It was a fantastic opportunity kind of for our kids to kind of get a little bit of, a legitimate competition. It was a sanctioned meet, which means it counts in the world of USA Swimming. And it was a really good opportunity. We sold soap cones, we made posters. It was a really fun opportunity. The kids had a blast with it, and they got to put down official times. Last year we had a ton of success. We had, for such a small team, we had 3 kids achieve age group qualifications, which is essentially means that you're in the top 10% of all of New England swimming. So that is Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. And we had 3 kids make it. And then we also had just over 20 silver championships qualifiers, which is kind of that next tier down, which is your kind of like your top 40%, which is another, for a team of our size, fantastic number. Which just goes to show you we have athletes on this island. There's not a ton of us, but we absolutely have some athletes, and it's been really fun to kind of get to know them, get to know the community through the pool, and watch the team kind of grow and kind of become what it is. And to be very clear, I couldn't have done it without the booster support. We have a really good young group of new boosters that kind of are kind of turning the tide and kind of having our backs in terms of getting as much of our volunteer support as we need, organizing volunteers, and taking care of a lot of our off-island travel, because for a team of 50 kids traveling off-island 10 times a year, and again, swimming is a 42-week-a-year sport, so it's a long year, and it's all volunteer based on that booster club, and they have done a really, really good job, kind of supporting me as we've gone through. That's just some of the things that we've been broaching on. We have diving starting up at the end of October, which is another little personal passion. If you guys do notice, actually I should have said this before, Nantucket Aquatics is a new name. We used to be Nantucket Swimming. We've branched out to Nantucket Aquatics simply because we're hoping to add more sports over the coming years. We've already brought a new dive coach on that's going to be helping us out this year, and then we're hoping to expand into water polo as well in the coming years, just because, again, as we get these athletes into the pool, to keep them there, can't just be swimming, because it does get a little boring looking at the big black line at the bottom of the pool all day. But it's been a really fun community to get involved in, and it's been really nice to kind of see the growth we've already had, and then to see kind of where we can be in 2-3 years, and then even more, even looking further down the road in 5-10. So it's been a really fun process, and it's still going. So we'll keep it up, and that's all. That's it for the pool, I think.
Great.
Yeah. Questions?
Can we, yes, in fact, can we ask you, James,
Yeah, we
to
can start with
stay,
me.
and then
Go for
we'll
it.
bring up Pauline and Alicia. Chantal, questions, comments for James?
I don't have any questions.
No?
Yeah, welcome to the
Okay.
island.
Thank you.
Laura?
I do have one. So this, the Learn to Swim is different. Thank you. I don't know what I did. Is different than it was in the past.
Yes.
So when did that change occur?
So when I came on full time, when I moved onto the island November 1st, we actually started our first registration. I think it was a week later. Mm-hmm. And the big shift that we had was we got away from the typical Red Cross Common Core type of lessons where it's like learning how to scull. You can't even explain what sculling means to a 5-year-old. So we really simplified the programming to essentially establish life skills without putting complicated names to it. There used to be 20 different skills you had to master before you moved out of a level. Mm-hmm. Now it's 5. Now those 5 skills have 4 different components to each one, and they have to learn all of that. But it becomes much simpler to teach these skills within the foundation of, hey, you're learning how to swim, we call it belly kick, put your head down and kick freestyle. Now that's working on head position, kicking, pulling to breathe, and making sure that you understand how to float flat on the top of the water. Yeah, that's 4 different skills all merged into one, but it's a much easier and much more digestible way for kids to understand. And on the other side, it's much easier for parents to understand. Mm-hmm. Being able to kind of articulate it in a way that everybody who doesn't necessarily have a swimming background can understand is really, really key. So it was more a simplification of the curriculum, essentially, to allow the kids to just kind of let their athleticism take over. Now, for that, it does add some subjectivity into getting promoted, but all of our instructors have to do progress reports at the end of every 5-week session. Parents get a progress report. Hey, Billy's doing great in X, Y, and Z. Billy needs work on X, Y, and Z. This is the class he should take next year or next semester. And they get that at the end of each session. There's 5-week sessions a year, so that's 25 weeks just within the school year. And then we ran 7 weeks through the summer. So in total, we had 32 of a possible 52 weeks with Learn to Swim going on, which, with vacations and everything that goes on at that pool is, I like to think, impressive.
So James, but also it's year round.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, year round.
Which is a big difference.
There's just a couple weeks off in between, pretty much to write progress reports and then re-register, and that's the turnaround.
Right. Thank you.
Tim?
One of my patients said the pool seemed cooler. Now, this has been a sticking point at times
Okay.
over my time on school committee. Have you?
So since I've moved, I've actually increased the temperature of the pool. Got yelled at for that, actually. So yeah, long story short, pools can kind of be anywhere from 78 degrees to 83 degrees when it comes to like lap swimming training. We're at 83. And the only reason I have it that high is simply because if I put my 1-year-old baby into that pool, her body temperature is going to drop way too fast. But on the contrary, if you ask my high school swimmers to swim anything hard over 83 degrees, it's already I mean, think of it this way. It's swimming in 83 degrees is exercising in 80 degrees heat with 100% humidity all the time. And so you have to kind of think of it as kind of the other shoe, like you'll go dehydrated way too fast if I make the pool any hotter. So it's really important to kind of find that delicate balance. It's hard when you only have one pool that feeds so many. Ideally, you'd have a pool that's for training and a warmer pool that would be for wading, aquasize, or learn to swim. But we deal with what we can, and we kind of try to feather that line. But long story short, I mean, set by a computer at 83 degrees, it hasn't moved in a while, and we have a new heater that it's probably a little bit too powerful, to be honest. Kind of a Ferrari pushing a Civic right now.
Thank you.
No problem.
Of course, that was Dr. Lepre, who maybe 8 years ago wanted to fill the pool with books, but I won't go back there again. We'll chat, James. Sorry, Tim, had to do that. Couple of questions. This sounds amazing. It sounds to me in the way that you presented that you were saying that the group of students who are swimming now are more diverse.
Yeah.
So you're seeing more
So
diversity
in our
the
youth
pool?
groups, yeah. I mean, so swimming culturally it's a very white sport. It always has been like that, and over the past decade to decade and a half, USA Swimming has done a lot to kind of increase diversity and inclusion across the board. And I'm noticing this year with our team, especially in the youth groups, and I think this is just more access to it. The youth groups have become far more diverse in terms of having not just white, black, but Spanish, Portuguese, different language-speaking kids in the classes. Because ironically, the kids speak English pretty well for the most part. It'll be the parents that'll be it'll be hard to reach, but we're getting all of our literature translated into multiple languages so that parents, when they come to the pool deck, they can see it. And because of our family swim program that is completely complimentary on the weekend, anybody can come in. They just have to make a profile with this community school and they can sign up and come. You've found a lot more people are just using the pool. We have 60 people in there for 2 hours every Saturday, and it's people from all over the island, and it's starting to fill in because now they're seeing all the literature about the Learn to Swim. The Learn to Swim is starting to fill up. Then that Learn to Swim is then graduated into our swim team, and those groups are starting to become a lot more diverse.
So the weekends are free. The Saturday 2 hours is free.
Yeah, it's
You don't have to
completely
be a
free. We
member.
have two
Fabulous.
1-hour blocks essentially. It's actually 50 minutes. An hour, it's 1 to 1:50, a 10-minute break just to kind of clear everybody out, and then a 2 to 2:50. We started this last year thanks to the Triathlon Club. They're fantastic. They sponsored this entire thing. And it essentially allows anybody who wants to use the pool, but we were having people stay for 2 hours, like 50 in there. It was just too many people in the pool. So because of our staffing, we had to kind of cut down on how many people we could have in the pool, so we made it 2 1-hour sessions, capping it at 30 so that you could get 30 people in and then another 30 people in after that. Obviously, if we have space, we let anybody else in that we can, but we had, I think, 27 in the first session and 30 in the second session last week.
Great problem
It's
to
been
have.
fantastic.
I'm not sure if you experienced the same piece as our kids were growing up and getting into swim lessons. It was worse than, trying to afford to buy a house on Nantucket. I mean, years ago, you'd have a line outside for sign-ups.
Yep.
And if you weren't working, you had a benefit because you could sit there at noon outside the building and then eventually get to sign up your child. So I'm really curious as to how you handle. Sounds like you've got a lot of kids and a lot of opportunities. So how is sign up and enrollment on the Learn to Swim?
Well, at the beginning, Alicia told me, she's like, it's going to fill up in 30 seconds. And I was like, there's no way. Like, nobody can click that fast. And the first session, sure enough, filled up in 30 seconds. I had set up for an hour, this is going to take all day. 30 seconds, it was done.
It was the best text message I've ever received.
So it shocked me, to be really honest, but it shouldn't have. Again, kind of with that, lack of a better way of putting it, that COVID hole, that 2-year block of time, which essentially means if you were 3 years old when COVID started, you did not enter the pool till you were 5, and that is some of the most prime swimming education time. That 3 to 5 window, if you can get them there, it's kind of like skiing. If you can get them into the sport, then everything gets easier because there's so much in swimming. It's kind of counterintuitive. Like, hey, don't pick up your head because that's going to cause you to sink. Little things like that. It was shocking to me. Anyways, what it ended up leading to was pretty much all of last year, every single class filled up almost immediately. And like you said, there was a lot of people being like, hey, can I get in? Can I get in? Luckily, so far, we have started to quell that with 2 things. One, the fact that the program runs year-round. People don't feel the need, hey, I have to get in fall or else I'm not going to get my chance. Right. So you're getting that spread out a little bit. So that rush to get in there gets spread out over those 5 sessions through the year. Also, the summer was great. I mean, we crushed out 16 kids every single, or 16 times 4 is 64 kids every single week during the summer for 7 weeks, which really started to quell a lot of that immediate rush, that immediate push. And now we've been able to add a 3rd day thanks to some awesome staffing, mainly Dorian and Kate, thank God, that allow us to offer essentially 96 kids a swim slot every 5 sessions, or every 5-week session. So out of our 96 slots that we had, we filled 94 of them for this most recent 5-week session. The Polywogs classes are completely sold out. Stingrays are completely sold out. There are 2 Orca slots that are open. Again, that's kind of the way it should work. It should kind of refine as you go down. As kids move up and kind of graduate, they come onto the swim team. Now the hard part will be starting to fill the swim team's starting to fill up. So once the swim team starts to fill up, then it's kind of like, where do you go? And that's just going to be, that's a problem for future Jimmy. So we're getting there, but like I said, 96 kids every session. We've got 5 sessions. We'll be able to open it up. And that does not include minnows and aquatots. That's just polywogs through orcas. Minnows and aquatots are kind of a little different just because they're during the school day, so there's not quite as many offerings.
Do you keep a wait list for those who can't get into the earlier classes?
Yeah,
or do you have to wait till that group moves up?
Right. So the tough one is the minnows class. Long story short, yes, we have a wait list for every single level. Yeah. Orcas doesn't have one because most of those kids are just kind of like, we'll sign up for the next class. Stingrays, a lot of the wait lists are the kids that graduated from polywogs because we've got 8 polywog classes, 6 stingray classes. So obviously, just by logic, there's going to be more polywogs coming out every single time than stingrays necessarily that graduate. So as that kind of fills up, we do priority enroll them for the next session if they don't get into the session, or we use it whenever a kid drops out. It does happen, not very often, but we will try to enroll from there. This year, within, like I said, the 94 out of 96 slots is the first time where we hit it, and we haven't had a 10+ wait list on every single group. Right now, I've got 5 on my polywog wait list and 1 on my stingray wait list. But other than that, we're finally, like I said, this is the first session ever where I feel like we are actually hitting demand or meeting demand. At least with those 3 levels. Aquatots is completely filled up. It didn't fill up immediately. Minnows, I don't think we'll ever be able to fully meet demand just because of the time that the classes have to be offered.
I love the outreach to the preschools because it's so often that working parents are the ones whose children don't get into the classes because they can't. I mean, in our day, you'd physically sit there, it wasn't online. Right. But even if you're at work, you probably don't have the ability to be sitting and filling out things while you're at work online. So I love that. So do the schools, the preschools, bus the students over?
Yep, they bus them over. We Mondays we got Lighthouse School. I think we have the new school on Fridays. They bus over a team of 12. They'll do a 5-week rotation, then they usually rotate their next class in. So we usually get throughout the entire school year. We should get pretty much the entire
So those
school.
Parents are still paying for the classes, but
it's all handled through the school. So technically, the school could, if they would like to include it as part of their curriculum, they can. If they would like to charge the parents individually, they can.
I see. So it's part of the school
we build
curriculum.
the school directly.
And that's just preschool.
And that's just preschool, right?
Yeah. James, I know we haven't met properly, so I've got a lot of. I will stop, but I'd love to get a cup of coffee sometime and just chat with you all because this is so exciting.
It really has been. The growth of the programs have been fantastic, and just the excitement around the pool is different. We're starting to get it cleaned up in there. Everything's working very well now, which is nice.
Don't say that out loud.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I'm pretty confident that's going to continue to work.
I was thinking of the machinery, actually.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. The pump,
nothing left to break.
everything broke between the pump popping, the heater going, and the hat. We broke everything.
We did.
But yeah, no, we are up and running fully, and It's been a really fun year this year, especially because last year it was a lot of like triage. This year it's a lot more of a progressive system.
Let me just see if Bruna has any questions or comments. No?
If I may, so if there's going to be a water polo class, my husband might join. He used to play water polo back in the day.
All right.
And if there's synchronized swimming, I will definitely join.
Wow.
All right.
Oh,
I know nothing about it, but I've always wanted to do it as a child. It was a childhood dream of mine to do synchronized swimming, so it would be fun.
You'll need a peg on your nose, I think. Yeah,
Probably.
That's good. Should we ask Pauline to come back up?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay, super. Thank you, James. Thank you.
I'm thinking of something as James is saying it because my kids went through the swimming program as it was. You change the model and it's once a week for 5 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, during the school year,
It's really important.
all of our program, it's a 5-week session. So I mean, you can sign up for multiple days, but essentially, if you sign up for Tuesdays for 5 weeks, you come every Tuesday for 5 weeks.
Okay.
Instead of it being condensed into a 1-week model,
Right.
this allows just to kind of get a little bit more familiar. And the kids are growing, so this kind of lets them do it as they grow. Some parents do sign up for like Tuesday, Thursday. It's totally fine. We do allow that. Obviously, if there's
Great
ever a
for
situation.
Working parents to
Mhm.
maybe manage 1 day a week but not manage the 5.
Right.
Which is
Yeah.
challenging.
Right.
It's
That
challenging.
makes sense.
And then during the summer, we go back to the weekly lessons, just because again the kids are out of school. A lot of parents kind of use it as an extension from camp. Finish camp, go right over to swim lessons, do the swim lesson for a week, get out, and it also helps us catch some of the seasonal.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
That's really important, so I want to
Yeah.
add
Yeah, no,
that.
thank
I
you.
signed up for that.
Chantal, questions for Pauline?
No.
Laura?
I don't have any questions, but it just sounds wonderful. And whenever I have walked through, when some of the programs are going on, everyone is so engaged, so congratulations.
It's the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's good stuff happening underneath the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Tim?
In the childbirth education, you said you make these relationships. Do we do any visits to the mothers
After,
after? Because I think, the hospital used to do it.
the VNA is doing it now.
Okay.
And then many years ago, it was called the Postpartum Depression Task Force, and I joined it on the Cape, so I would attend all the meetings. The reason, but again, because I have a real interest in PMADs, as they call it now, perinatal mood disorders. I've stayed connected with them because there's a lot of money for the Cape and Islands, and I've always been like, we're over here. And they have a doula program. So every mother who delivers at Cape Cod Hospital, Falmouth doesn't have a maternity anymore, can sign up for 9 hours, so three-hour sessions for a doula to come to their house. Check it, so they'll get the home visit, but they also, if they want it, they don't have to have this one, but they'll go to the house, check in on the mother, do the dishes for the mother, let the mother go nap for 3 hours if that's what they need to do. Something I so wish had been able to
Indeed.
have my children. So no, we don't. Well, we do the welcome baby visit, but I think these programs might sort of take over from that because they're professionals going in to check in on mom.
But is the doula program going to spread over to here?
Yes, so that was why I stayed connected to the. It's now called the Maternal Health Task Force. Yeah, and we haven't hired someone to run that program on the island has just been hired. So yes, we'll be offering it. Then you have to find the doulas here, but there are a few. Hopefully they're interested in doing it. I have to know when to stop, and that's something that we can't. It's again hand it over to the experts, but we can sell it to parents.
Any other questions? I feel like it was a long time ago that you spoke, so sorry, I can't remember my notes.
That was my fault. I should have paused for you guys.
Summer Boost.
Yeah.
Buses, did you have buses
Yes.
this year?
So
And did you have any
and-
issues with bus drivers? I mean, not with the drivers, but the ability to have buses, I should say.
Yeah, no, it worked out. So we deliberately follow the summer school schedule.
Yep.
So the buses quite often are more our little boosters that we make sure they sit at the front. It's can be kind of a tease to do that. We know that a lot of them can't access the program unless they have the bus.
Right,
Then when they go to school, so we do the bus whether they live across the road.
right.
So then when they come to kindergarten, that was something I didn't add either. The parent component of Summer Boost, I put a lot of effort into. We meet with the parents at the beginning. We meet with the parents at the end. I have a remind. They message me all the time, and I love it because I think it's really important to have that connection. Then at the last meeting, I'll say, this remind's going to go away, but you're going to be handed over to your school teacher's remind. So keep giving me the questions, and I do. I can share the ESOL program for through adult ed, things like that. But yes, so the buses, absolutely, they wouldn't be able to come otherwise. But we were about 50-50 this year for parents who wanted to drop off that were hanging on through the door. That's okay.
Does Patricia Harding get to come in at any point during the summer just to meet with the kids, or is her first time meeting students? I mean, I know she knows a lot of the community, but
Yeah,
because she's sort of the next person that they'd be handing off to, right?
for the parents, no, I mean, she's in the building if she's able to, and anyone's welcome. I welcome all of you to come to any of our programs, but it's not an intentional part to have her come into the program. It's a good idea. Meet Patricia Harding.
And then I think just the last thing I wanted to ask you is, years ago, the Nantucket Golf Club provided funds to the community school for preschool dollars, which pretty much just came through the community school because it benefited families going to any preschool. Have you been able to change that opportunity for the golf club to support community school for programming? Because I think the preschool piece is important, but I remember from the past it would come in and it would go straight out to preschool. So I'm just wondering if you've been able to grow that or advance that, or.
Well, the golf club is amazing what it does fund. The main funding is from the Nantucket fund that we get.
Yes.
Nantucket fund.
Between
Between
the
the
net? Is that what you're talking
no, that's a small
Community
part, but
Foundation.
I always get mixed up with the
Yeah.
community
Boost gets a
foundation.
lot of different grants.
Yes.
The Nantucket fund is a big funder of Summer Boost. The tuition assistance program still goes through us.
And funded
Susan
how?
Richards, yes, and only to licensed preschools. The numbers are getting less and less.
There's only 2 at this point, right, that we can provide.
Yes, because they have to be licensed, but we have been able to go back to them and say, can we use it to help the extended day program if there's a family in need? Yes, we'll use it for Summer Boost. Again, we do charge for Summer Boost, but if there's any barriers, we make it happen. So that's where we would use the golf club.
But so that's still being funded by the golf club?
It is, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
great. I think that was it for me. Bruna?
I just wanted to congratulate you on the grant for the Parent-Child Plus because I think this is so important. There's so much research out there that shows that parents who are able to interact with their children and have their children interact with text, even if it's reading stories to them, it's so meaningful and so helpful in moving them forward towards academic growth. So I've living in Providence, I'd heard about this project, and it is really important. So I'm so glad that we're part of that now. So congratulations to you for that.
Yeah.
Then we'll be
that's
looking for the birth too, right? So we can get all those stages.
be a
going.
big one.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all so
love
much.
your presentations every time we get to hear from you. So thank you.
Happy to do it.
I know we went over 15 minutes by a lot, but thank you.
That was my fault.
I don't think so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll get to committee discussions and votes to be taken. Okay, I'm looking for an approval, please, for the donation of school supplies to Nantucket Public Schools in the amount of $1,500 from St. Paul's Church. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. May I have approval, please, for the donation of flashlights to NES and NIS students in the amount of $2,200 from Island Lumber? Okay, may I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote approval, please, for the workshop minutes, August 15th. Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Approval, please, for the special meeting minutes, September 9th.
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
We have taken off the September 19th minutes. You will have that struck from your agenda. May I have an approval, please, for the superintendent's contract, which will go from 2023 to 2026. May I have a motion to
So moved.
Second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I thank you for your patience on that one, Dr. Hallett, but we're very fortunate to have you, and I'm glad we secured the contract.
Thank you.
May I have approval, please, for the transfers and invoices? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, subcommittee work group reports. Who's got a report?
I have nothing new from Cape Cod Collaborative. We'll be having a meeting probably next week. We still need to meet for policy.
Yes, that has to happen, and that would be the two of you. So
Yes.
we need to set that up for the next week.
Mhm.
So I will send out a couple of dates, and we'll get a meeting posted.
Okay.
So
Great.
we have a few policies to put on.
Chantel?
The diversity committee met, Esmeralda and myself, met with Dr. Hallett. We have a lot of work to do, to say the least. But one of the things we agreed on in that meeting was that our goal essentially is to figure out how to create safe spaces to resolve issues, whether it be for students or for faculty. How we go about doing that is TBD. We have a lot of research to do. There's some great schools out there that have already begun doing this work. So that's on our list of communicating with those schools and figuring out how they got to where they are. We need to create a vision and a mission for the subcommittee, make sure it ties into ultimately the district's goals for the year, and kind of go from there. So I have about 2 pages of notes that I took in that meeting that I will not go over, but I'm really excited. I know Esmeralda, I'm speaking for her, but I know she's really excited to start working on this. We've both done DEI work in different capacities, so it's
That's
nice
great.
to put it into something else as well. So
That's terrific.
it's more to
Great.
come.
Will the resource that you spoke about earlier with the school districts, will that be able to work with the diversity group or?
So Mass REDI is specifically for school personnel, but there are other areas that we're going to investigate around some potential training for school committee. So our hope is that for the full school committee that we'll be able to set up some diversity, equity, and inclusion training. It's always good to see where we're all going. So
That's great.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyone else have comments on committee meetings or anything?
If I may, just very briefly, we will be starting our negotiations for TAs and custodians coming soon. So those of you who are on the list to be members, school committee representatives, I will be reaching out because we want to get going soon. And we've got 2
That
minutes
is
to take care.
Pauline and I.
The two of you are for TAs,
TAs.
and
Okay.
then for I think it's Shanta and Dr. Lepre for custodians. It's possible that we may only need one. We try to keep the groups even with regard to the number of people on each side. So we may, because both groups are going to be quite small, we may only need one representative, which is fine.
So if there's 2, we will need to post each meeting, won't
We'll
we?
always need to post and then go into executive session, in which case that's when the negotiations occur. So it will be a posting for an open meeting, moving into executive session, and then executive session is when negotiations happen.
Oh, okay.
If we have 2. If we have
If
one,
we have 2, it doesn't matter.
it's
if
not
we
a
have one.
quorum, so.
Right. Okay, great.
Yes.
Before we go on to the agenda for next meeting, Bruna, do you have a report?
Yes, I have some dates for homecoming. Homecoming dance is going to be on Friday, October 20, and that's when. So the week after that Friday is going to be Spirit Week or Homecoming Week. Powder Puff Game is going to be on Thursday, October 26th at night. Pepper Rally, Bonfire, and the Pig Roast are going to be on Friday, October 27th. And October 28th, the Saturday after that day, is going to be the home games. So all the homecoming games. And the high school is also planning a club fair for the students to join clubs during the school year. Next week we're going to be, the National Honor Society application will be available, and sophomores and juniors are going to take the PSAT on October 14th. And I think that's it for this month. Yeah.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to our next meeting, October 17th. We'll have the first quarter budget update, school improvement plans, future school calendar, homeschooling report, and advanced placement results, student checking and about policy updates. When will we do MCAS reports?
So we have that scheduled for November 14th.
Okay.
If we will probably make that a workshop, in which case we can add a couple of other workshop items. We
Okay.
had talked about
Okay.
looking at e-bikes and such.
Thank
So
you.
I think that will be good. October 17th does look like it's quite jam-packed, but a lot of these are smaller issues that can be taken care of in a few minutes. It's not full presentation, so no panicking there.
Okay.
We won't panic
Okay.
yet. Okay, that's great. Super. Any other comments, questions? No? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I
Thank
keep
you.
the school committee for a
Thank
moment?
you.
You all
Yes.
need to sign.
Thank you, everyone. Mhm.